My friends, sometimes the biggest shifts in global power don't happen with armies or governments. They happen quietly in labs, in universities, in startup offices where a small group of engineers write code that changes everything. Today, I want to talk about a secret most people don't know. While America and China are fighting over chips, over who controls artificial intelligence, there's a company, Nvidia, that made a silent but very important move. And that move is in India. Yes, India. Now, why does this matter? Think about it. Nvidia is not just another company. This is the company that fuels the entire artificial intelligence revolution. Every big AI model you see, from ChatGPT to self-driving cars, from healthcare algorithms to financial predictions, all run on Nvidia chips. Without Nvidia AI, as we know, it would not even exist. That's how powerful this company is. And yet, for decades, the whole world looked at India as the land of software outsourcing, call centers, and cheap coders. Nobody imagined India would ever play a decisive role in hardware, in chips, in the very foundation of AI. But today, Nvidia knows something the rest of the world is just waking up to. India is no longer just writing code. India is about to shape the future of artificial intelligence. Let me explain why. Right now, America is caught in a storm. On one hand, it wants to control chip technology so China doesn't dominate the future. On the other hand, it doesn't have enough engineers, enough manufacturing, or enough political stability to move fast. China, of course, is pouring billions into chips, AI, and supercomputers. But it is trapped by US restrictions, tariffs, and sanctions. So, what does a company like Nvidia do? It cannot depend only on the US. It cannot sell freely in China. It needs a third option, a place that is large enough, smart enough, and neutral enough to build the future with. And that's where India enters the picture. Most people don't realize this, but India has the single largest pool of AI engineers outside America. Every year, Indian universities produce more engineers than the entire population of some countries. Many of these engineers don't just go abroad anymore. They're staying. They're building startups. They're working for global companies right from Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune. And Nvidia quietly has been partnering with them. They have signed deals with Reliance Jio to bring AI infrastructure to small towns. They have joined hands with Infosys and Wipro to build AI training programs. They are working with Indian universities to set up supercomputing centers. And the question is, why India? It's not just because of cost. Let me tell you, if this were only about cheap labor, companies would have gone somewhere else. It's about resilience. It's about the fact that in the coming decade, India is not only a safe partner politically, but also the only country with scale, stability, and ambition big enough to balance the US-China tech war. Think about it like this. When the world looks at India, it still sees traffic jams, bureaucracy, and poverty. But when Nvidia looks at India, it sees 1 billion people who will become the next generation of internet users. They see 800 million young people who will use AI tools in schools, in jobs, in small businesses. They see an economy that is growing faster than almost any major economy in the world. They see a government that is not afraid to dream big, whether it is UPI for payments, ONDC for e-commerce, or Gaganyaan for space. Nvidia knows if India can do that in finance, commerce, and space, then it can do it in AI. And this is what Silicon Valley doesn't want you to know. For decades, the story was always the same: innovation happens in America, manufacturing happens in China, and India just provides back office support. But that story is breaking. India is not just a service provider anymore. It is becoming the laboratory of the future. And Nvidia is betting on that before the world realizes it. I'll give you an example. Last year, Nvidia announced a partnership with the Indian government to build AI supercomputers in research institutes. Do you know what this means? It means that an Indian student in a university lab will have the same computing power as a PhD student in MIT or Stanford. It means breakthroughs in medicine, climate modeling, and robotics will not only come from Boston or San Francisco, but also from Delhi, Bangalore, and Chennai. For Nvidia, this is not charity. This is survival. They know that the future of AI cannot be monopolized by one country. It has to be spread, and India is the perfect place to plant that seed. But let's go deeper. Why does this scare Silicon Valley? Because for the first time, they see a country that can leapfrog. America built its tech dominance over 50 years, slowly, step by step. India, with the help of Nvidia and other partners, can do it in 10 years. And if that happens, the balance of power in technology will shift forever. Imagine this. A startup in Bangalore trains a medical AI model on Nvidia chips using Indian patient data, Indian doctors, and Indian hospitals. That AI gets exported to Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. Suddenly, American companies are no longer the only gatekeepers of healthcare AI. Or imagine a small city in Uttar Pradesh where students are learning AI programming on Nvidia-powered cloud labs. 5 years later, those students are building products that Silicon Valley never even thought of because they don't understand those local problems. This is not science fiction. This is already happening. And yet, if you ask most people in America, they will laugh. India, AI, come on. Maybe software support. But not hardware, not chips. They don't realize the game has already started. While they are debating in Congress, while they are fighting over tariffs, Nvidia is already laying the foundation in India. And when the world wakes up, it will be too late. You see, this is what makes the story fascinating. India is not replacing America or China. It is not about who wins and who loses. It is about how the center of gravity is shifting. For a company like Nvidia, this is not just business. It is survival, it is strategy, it is future-proofing. And for India, it is an opportunity. The kind of opportunity that comes once in a century. The truth is, America cannot stop this. It cannot sanction India the way it sanctions China. It cannot block talent because its own companies depend on Indian engineers. It cannot ignore India because the market is too big. So for the first time, India is in a position where the world's most valuable AI company needs India more than India needs them. And that changes everything. When I look at this, I don't just see a business deal. I see a story of transformation. A story of how a country that was ignored, underestimated, sometimes even mocked, is now sitting at the center of the biggest technological revolution in history. Nvidia knows it. Silicon Valley fears it. And slowly, the world will realize it. Now, let's look deeper. Because it's not just about Nvidia making a bet on India. It's about how India itself is quietly transforming into something nobody saw coming. For decades, India was labeled as a country of software service providers, outsourcing, call centers, and IT parks. People said, oh, Indians are good at writing code, but they can't build world-class products. But now, the very thing the world mocked is becoming India's greatest strength. You see, the AI revolution is not just about chips. It is about people. It is about talent. And when it comes to talent, India has something the US and China cannot match: scale. Every year, India produces over 1 million engineers. Of course, not all of them are world-class. But even if 1% of them become great, that's 10,000 new high-level engineers every year. Compare that to the United States, where the entire graduating engineering class across the country is smaller than some single Indian states. What does that mean? It means India has raw human capital in a way no other country does. And Nvidia understands that. But talent alone is not enough. You need infrastructure. You need capital. You need belief. And that's where things get interesting. In the past, India's biggest problem was always the brain drain. The best minds went to America, to Silicon Valley, to Wall Street. But now, many of them are coming back. They've seen how things work abroad, and they want to build at home. They don't want to be just employees anymore. They want to be founders, investors, ecosystem builders. Do you realize how powerful that shift is? When you have millions of young people not just dreaming of jobs, but dreaming of companies, dreaming of building solutions for billions of people, something magical happens. That's what Nvidia is tapping into. They are not just selling chips to India. They are embedding themselves into the dreams of this new generation. Think about AI training. 5 years ago, if you were a student in India and you wanted to train an AI model, good luck. You didn't have the computing power. You didn't have access to GPUs. You could maybe do some small projects, but you couldn't compete with a Stanford student who had access to Nvidia clusters. But today, because of these partnerships, Indian universities and startups are running on the same infrastructure as anyone else in the world. That levels the playing field. And when the playing field is level, India's advantage in scale becomes unstoppable. Now, let's talk about the business side. Why does Nvidia need India so badly? Because the AI race is not cheap. Training a single large AI model can cost tens of millions of dollars in GPU power. Running them for millions of users costs even more. So what's the biggest bottleneck? Access to markets. Nvidia knows that the next billion AI users are not in New York or London. They are in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Lagos, and Jakarta. And India is the gateway. If you can crack India, you can scale to the rest of the global south. And that's a market Silicon Valley doesn't understand. They are still building products for rich users in the West. But Nvidia knows the future of AI is not just a billionaire in San Francisco. It's a school teacher in Bihar using AI to prepare lessons. A farmer in Punjab using AI to predict weather. A doctor in Kerala using AI to diagnose patients. Those are the real markets of tomorrow. And India is the test bed. But here's the twist. This is not just about markets and money. It's also about geopolitics. You see, the US government wants to control the global chip industry. It wants to decide who gets access to advanced GPUs and who doesn't. That's why they restrict exports to China. But they cannot use the same playbook on India. Because India is not an adversary. It's not a competitor in the same way. It's a partner. So when Nvidia invests in India, it's not just business, it's also geopolitics. It is Nvidia saying, we are future-proofing against US-China tensions by creating a third pillar. And you know what? This is exactly what India has been waiting for. For years, India tried to catch up in manufacturing, in infrastructure, in innovation. But it was always one step behind. Now, because of the AI revolution, it doesn't need to catch up. It can leapfrog. It can move directly into the most advanced technology of our time because Nvidia is handing them the keys. Now, let me tell you why Silicon Valley fears this. For decades, the model was simple E. The best Indian engineers came to the US, worked for Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, and built wealth there. But if Nvidia builds the infrastructure in India, those engineers don't need to leave. They can build billion-dollar companies without ever setting foot in Silicon Valley. That's a nightmare for the Valley because it means they lose their monopoly on talent. Let me give you an image. Imagine two young engineers in Bangalore. They start working on an AI solution for local logistics using Nvidia GPUs provided through cloud partnerships. They scale it across India, then Southeast Asia, then Africa. Suddenly, they are a global company. But here's the twist. They never needed to go to Silicon Valley. They never raised money from a US venture capital firm. They were ever listed on the Nasdaq. They did it all from India. That is the scenario Silicon Valley doesn't want to talk about. And the craziest part, it's already happening. Look at companies like Ola, Flipkart, and Byju's. They may not be perfect, but they are proof that Indian startups can reach massive scale. Now, add AI power, Nvidia GPUs, and a global market hungry for solutions. That's the formula for disruption. But let's be honest, it won't be easy. India still has challenges. bureaucracy, infrastructure, and power shortages. There will be setbacks. There will be failures. But that's not the point. The point is momentum. For the first time, the momentum is on India's side. The world's most valuable AI company has chosen India as its strategic partner. That's not luck. That's a signal. And the question is, will India seize this moment? Will it build the kind of ecosystem that can take advantage of this opportunity? Because opportunities don't last forever. Technology moves fast. If India doesn't move, someone else will. But if India does, if it truly commits, then what we are seeing today is just the beginning of a revolution. You know, sometimes history gives you a window where the old world is collapsing and the new world is not yet formed. That's where we are today. The US-China rivalry has created chaos. Nvidia is looking for a safe harbor, and India is standing at the door. If India steps through, it will not only change its future, but it will change the balance of global technology forever. You know, when I think about this moment, I think about how the world works in cycles. 30 years ago, nobody believed China could make electronics that rivaled Japan. But then, quietly, step by step, China became the factory of the world. Today, people laugh at India's infrastructure, its bureaucracy, and its slow decision making. But maybe, just maybe, those very weaknesses will force India to build a model that is different, more flexible, more adapted to the 21st century. And if that happens, the very people who laughed will be the first to regret it. Let me give you a story. In the early 2000s, when e-commerce was just beginning, people used to ask me, why would anyone in China buy something online? They don't even trust banks. They don't have credit cards. They don't have delivery infrastructure. And at the time, they were right. It looked impossible. But precisely because we didn't have those things, we built alternatives. We built payment systems, logistics networks, and trust mechanisms. And those innovations later became advantages. India today is in the same position with AI. People say, oh, India doesn't have enough chip fabs. It doesn't have power. It doesn't have data centers like America. But because of those gaps, India is building something unique, leaner, more decentralized, more frugal. They are figuring out how to run advanced AI on limited resources, how to make technology affordable for ordinary people. And you know what? That kind of innovation is more valuable than just having the biggest machines, because it is scalable to the entire developing world. And this is where Nvidia comes in. They are not just selling GPUs. They are catalyzing an ecosystem. They are forcing India to solve problems at scale, to innovate under pressure, to build systems that don't exist anywhere else. And when India cracks those problems, the solutions will not only serve 1.4 billion Indians, they will serve billions more in Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia. That's the climax of this story. This is not about Nvidia finding a new market. This is about Nvidia unintentionally unleashing a force that could rebalance the world's technological map. Now let's talk about lessons. Lesson 1, the future of technology is not decided by who has the best machines, but by who has the most people using them. America has great universities, China has great factories, but India has the biggest pool of young, hungry, ambitious minds ready to learn. That is more powerful than any patent or facility. Lesson 2, disruption never looks powerful at the beginning. It looks weak, messy, unfinished. Remember when Chinese phones were laughed at? Today, they dominate the market. The same thing will happen with Indian AI startups. At first, people will dismiss them, but slowly, they will build solutions nobody else thought of. Lesson 3 in business, you can't always fight head to head. Sometimes you have to find the side door. While America and China are fighting over chip supremacy, India is quietly entering through the service layer, through software, through applications. That's the side door. And once you're inside the house, you don't need to fight anymore. You already belong. Now, let me give you a bigger perspective. The AI revolution is not just about machines. It is about humanity. And humanity's biggest challenge is not whether we can make smarter algorithms, but whether we can make them serve real people. This is where India has a moral advantage. Because for India, AI is not a luxury. It is survival. Farmers need AI for crops, teachers need it for education, and doctors need it for health. That urgency will shape the kind of technology India builds. And it might just be the kind of technology the whole world needs. So the real question is not, will India succeed? The real question is, will the world let India succeed? Because make no mistake, there will be resistance. Silicon Valley will resist because it doesn't want to lose its monopoly. China will resist because it doesn't want a competitor in Asia. Even some parts of India will resist because change always threatens the old way of doing things. But history shows us when 1 billion people decide to move forward, nobody can stop them. Now, let me bring you to the emotional core. I want you to imagine a small village in India. A young student, maybe 16 years old, is sitting in front of a second-hand laptop. 10 years ago, that laptop would have been used only for watching movies or browsing social media. But today, that student is training a small AI model on Nvidia infrastructure, provided through a national cloud program. He uses it to build a tool that helps his family farm predict rainfall. It works. Then he shares it online. Suddenly, farmers across the region are using it. Do you realize what that means? That's the seed of the next revolution. And it won't come from Silicon Valley. It will come from the margins, from the places nobody expected. And if Nvidia is smart, and I believe they are, that's exactly what they are betting on. They are betting that the next AI breakthrough won't come from a Stanford PhD, but from a teenager in Bangalore. And when that happens, the whole world will ask, how did we miss this? Now, before I close, let me leave you with a few thoughts. The future is not a straight line. It doesn't belong to those who are the biggest today. It belongs to those who are willing to believe when nobody else does. Right now, India has a chance to rewrite its story, not as the back office of the world, but as the laboratory of the future. Nvidia is giving them tools, but tools are not enough. What matters is courage. What matters is vision. And for those of you listening, whether you are in India, America, or anywhere else, don't just watch this change happen. Be part of it. Because revolutions are not built by companies alone. They are built by individuals who dare to dream differently. So here's my challenge to you. Don't think about what AI will do to the world. Think about what you will do with AI. Will you use it just to copy what others are doing? Or will you use it to solve problems nobody else has solved? If you choose the second path, you will not only build a business, you will build history. And that is the real story behind Nvidia and India. It is not about chips. It is not about profits. It is about possibility. So, my friends, remember this, the world's center of gravity is shifting. And those who adapt will rise, those who cling to the old will fall. India has been given an opening. Nvidia has made its move. Now the rest is up to you. If you found value in this message, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it, discuss it, challenge it. Because knowledge only grows when it is exchanged. And if you believe in a future where technology empowers everyone, not just a few, then stay tuned, because this conversation is just beginning. The future is being written line by line, code by code, choice by choice. And maybe, just maybe, the next chapter will be written in India. Thank you.